Oh, wait, I did forget something. Ready? You know, that's not too bad, huh? Hey yo, what's going on everyone? Nathan here. So I started my YouTube channel about a year and a half ago, and man, has my studio for filming videos changed drastically since then. I have had many changes throughout this time, and I have been constantly learning and always trying to improve my setup with each new video in one way or another. From camera angle and height to audio, and most of all, lighting. And I finally think I'm starting to get that whole YouTuber look, but I'm sure in like 3 months from now, I'm gonna look back on this video and be like, what was I thinking? But currently, right now, I'm pretty content with how it's looking. So briefly, if you're new to this channel, then first, welcome. And second, consider subscribing down below and also following me on my Instagram, as I plan on being a lot more active there coming up in the near future. That's at Nate_Lem. I don't usually plug my socials, but I think it's a good time for me to start kicking up Instagram, and I'm gonna have a bunch of content there as well. And second, a little background about me. So I'm currently a graduate student here at Syracuse University, and I'm also a 4th year RA. And so the only perk about being an RA is that yes, I live in a dorm with other residents, but I do get my own room. And so this is the dorm room that I'm currently in right now, and where I've been filming all my videos for YouTube as of recently. So I do have a decent amount of area to work with in this room, and in this video I'm going to show you exactly how I set this up to get this sort of like, I don't know, cinematic YouTuber look, and also a bunch of tips and tricks that I've learned along the way in my own time studying and researching this topic. So let's get right into it. Starting off with my main productivity desk that is usually right behind me in my videos. This is what I use for all of my video editing, script writing, answering emails, and also doing homework. I have recently done a full desk setup tour minus a few little upgrades I've had since then, but so I'm not going to go too much into detail of it in this video, but if you want to go check it out, then I'll link it on screen right now. This whole station is powered by the M1 Pro MacBook Pro, which has been an amazing laptop, but believe it or not, I'm actually already almost like outgrown it with my video editing workflow, so I'm already on the market for possibly an M2 Mac Mini or the Mac Studio. But this also powers my 4K 27-inch LG Ultrafine monitor. This is a gorgeous monitor and an amazing deal for the money. Besides that, I have just a few peripherals, speakers, and then a few accessories to kind of make my desk pop a little more. So as for the desk that I sit at in all my videos, sometimes you can see it, sometimes you can't, but it's actually the exact same one as behind me, and it's actually my residents across the hall. They just didn't have room in their dorm and they didn't need it, so I was like, I'll take that. I have experimented with this being in a couple orientations, and the first one is it being parallel to my editing desk, but then there's this huge gap on the left-hand side of the wall where it ends, and I just don't like how that looks in my videos, so I think from now on I'm going to stick with kitty cornering it the way it is right now in this video here. By doing this, it sits in the middle of where my editing desk and my bed meet up. I think it adds a little more depth to the shot, as you can see the bed coming up to the end of the frame at an angle, and now you can't see the gap where the wall ends over on the other side. So the chair is just a really simple one. It's not very good at all, but it's one that the university supplied to me, and I don't have the money to go out and buy a chair for myself, so I'm just using this boring old one. So moving over to my camera gear, the camera that I film with is the Panasonic Lumix S5. This, at the time, was the best bang for buck camera on the market and had everything I was looking for. I picked this up pre-owned for less than $1,600, and with that I get 4K recording with no crop at 30 frames per second, I get 1080p slow-mo at 120 frames per second, I get vlog profile, which has been awesome to work with, a flip-out touchscreen, professional on-display tools, and its glass is so much cheaper than that of Canon and Sony lenses. The lens that I invested in to accompany this camera is the Sigma 28-70mm f2.8. I figured this lens would give me the most versatility, as its 28mm is wide enough for my talking headshots like you can see here, but then I also get a 35mm, a 50mm, and up to a 70mm with this one lens, and it stays at f2.8, so it's relatively fast, and for the price, especially for the L mount, which is what the Panasonic has, it was just a great bang for buck. Then I currently have just one more lens, which is the Laowa 90mm f2.8 2x macro lens. This is the lens that I use for all of my super close-up shots to get some ridiculous detail. The 90mm gives me a bunch of compression and bokeh, and the 2x macro is just crazy. I feel like I can get as close to anything as I want and still be able to maintain focus. But besides that, for the price, $500, for the type of shots that I can get now, this is a great lens for the money. The tripod I use for my camera is the GEEKOTO AT24 Pro Dreamer, which has a maximum height of 77 inches, has clamps for height adjustments instead of screws, which is a massive time saver. This has a quick release mount, is lightweight, collapses relatively small, and has a somewhat of a greased head to smoother panning and a cutout for vertical filming as well. So my only problem with this tripod is that it's not technically a fluid head. It is slightly greased, so it does kind of move smoothly, but as I've gotten now a bigger camera than my Canon M50, and just as I now want to keep improving the quality and production of my videos, I do need to invest in an actual fluid head, as this one's just not cutting it for me anymore. So here's a little tip for anyone who's relatively new or doesn't have a lot of money to invest in camera gear, but this is something that I've been incorporating into most of my videos now, and it's kind of simulating what a motorized slider shot would look like. For this to work, you'll have to be on relatively smooth floors, but take 3 paper towels and put them underneath each of the feet of your tripod. The paper towels will help the tripod slide across the floor as you slowly and steadily push the tripod. That is how I add different types of shots to my videos and mimic a parallax shot. I know it's not perfect, but for the cost of 3 paper towels, it's better than nothing, and shots do get kind of stale just panning left to right all the time. This definitely adds a nice parallax feel to some of the shots, and I've been incorporating it. It's just tough to get it perfect, so again, just a little tip if you don't have the money for a slider, because those are quite expensive. So moving on to the lighting in my setup, and this is an area that I've really been trying to learn and master over the past year and a half, as lighting probably has the most to do with how your shots look and feel. My main key light is the Aperture Amaran 60D. This is a very powerful light for the size and price and has very accurate colors. You can only adjust it in terms of Kelvin temperature, so either an orangey warm light or a bluish cooler light. I decided on this instead of the full color spectrum light because this made it cheaper and also slightly more powerful than its RGB counterpart. I just want a natural looking daylight color in my videos, so I leave it at 6500 Kelvin for this specific room that I'm in. So the softbox that I have to accompany my main light is the 42-inch NEEWER Soft Box with a grid. So I went with this large softbox because I wanted the light to just roll off me and create a very smooth transition from light to dark. The larger the softbox is, the more diffused the light is. So I know that this 42 inches is definitely way too big for my room, not because it can't fit in my room, but because I don't think my room has enough depth for it to work. And so what I mean by that is I'm trying to get this 45-degree angle on my face because that is the optimal angle for a key light. But at that angle, there's only so much room I can move it in this little room, and then it starts to light up my back wall, which I don't want it to do because I have other lights back there, which I'll get in a little bit. But so I'm really trying to find the right angle where it's not hitting the wall, still hitting me properly, and I just think a smaller softbox will make that work. But I do love the nice smooth transition from light to dark that this huge softbox does provide. And so the grid does help with this, and what it essentially does is it directs the light towards wherever its subject is, and it stops it from diffusing out further. So it's kind of the best of both worlds where it's more directional but still has the nice diffusion of it. But even with that, this softbox is still just too big and still hits the back wall. So this huge softbox is currently mounted onto my older, much smaller softbox's tripod stand, and it's just way too heavy and big for it to support it. If I literally don't have it angled exactly on one of the 3 legs, then it will tip and fall over, and I've already hit it over. Like, just a slight bump is all it takes, and then it just goes. I've already done it twice, and it actually fell into like my tower fan, and it broke it. Wait, let me show you real quick. All right, so this is my tower fan right here. He doesn't have a name, but it just turned on. It's on now. Like here, I can turn up the setting. That's at full speed and nothing. So that's unfortunate. Now I'm like fanless in my room and I need a fan to sleep. So thank you, big spotlight. So essentially, I am very soon going to invest in a very sturdy C-stand for this, and I'm also going to get a couple of sandbags to help weigh it down so I can have it at many angles that I want without it tipping over. So a fluid head, tripod head, and a C-stand are pretty much up next for my investments for this studio. And then recently I got this little guy, and this is the Aperture Amaran MC. And for such a small light, I know that it's expensive at right under $100, but I got it for a few reasons. The first is that both this and my Aperture key light can both connect to the Cinus Link app on my phone where I can easily control both lights. Also, this little light gets super bright, is very portable, has accurate colors so I can match it up with my main key light, and also has the full color spectrum of RGB lights. So I'm currently using this little light as my fill light. So for example, what a fill light does is it lights up the other side of your face. So I just turned it away and you can see how much darker this side of my face got. But if I turn it back, you'll see it lightens it up just a little bit so it's not so intense. And that's currently what I'm using it for, and then a bunch of B-roll shots as well. So another quick little tip, if you don't have the money for a fill light, then all you need to do essentially is go to the store and pick up like a $2 or $3 little like thick white board. I don't know exactly what you would call this, but essentially what I did for the whole past year of my YouTube videos is I would tape it to the side of my desk with just some duct tape. I would put 2 in the front, 2 in the back, and just angle it towards me, or this white board will actually reflect light as well. As you can see, like if I put it right here near my face, it lights up a little more. If I get rid of it, it darkens. So it can work as a fill, but I just thought it was time to upgrade. So I got this little MC light now, and I like it so much better. But for $2 or $3, this does work as well. And then the last thing that I used in my setup for lighting is the UB-size 12-inch ring light. Again, this is another very cheap light that I got on Amazon a while ago, and I use this as a rim light where I set it up behind me at a 45-degree angle to my back and opposite my key light, and this just adds a little glow, a little outline or rim to the edge of my body, where it just makes me stand out that much more from the background than if I were to not have it at all. This is just one other little thing that you can add to your setup, and all these little things like the fill light, the rim light, all of them together make for a big difference than if you were to not have any of them, and even though there's small changes, they add up pretty quick. So moving on to the audio of my setup, and audio is extremely important for any YouTube setup, and so what I have is this right here, and this is the Rode VideoMic NTG. For the price, this is a fantastic mic. It has a super cardioid polar pattern, which essentially just means it's very directional and you have to talk right into it to get the best audio possible. And what I love the most about this mic is that there's a gain dial on the back with numbers, so as you change from scene to scene or from use to use, you can quickly adjust the gain settings so you don't blow out the audio, and it's just super nice to adjust it. Currently at this distance where I'm talking, I keep it at 6 so I don't blow out my audio, and then I can add different effects and adjust it in post-production. I have this mounted onto an Amazon Basics boom arm, which is very budget friendly and good enough to hold up my mic. And I always have this mic above me, angled down towards me, just out of frame. Like you can see like how little I had to move that for it to come into frame. But I do this so it's not in the frame, you can't see it, but I get it close enough to me where I can still have great audio with this mic. Then I have a 10-foot headphone cable running from the mic itself directly into my camera, and this just makes it so I don't have to sync up audio after I'm done recording, and it still gives me the flexibility to move my boom arm as close to me as possible while keeping the camera right where I want it. So if this mic is just a little out of your budget, as $250 is quite a bit, then I do recommend the Rode VideoMic Go 2. This is essentially just its little brother. I've heard great reviews about it. Looks exactly the same, so highly recommend that mic, and it's just $100. So coming down to the end here, the last thing I want to go over are my practicals, which are things I put in the background on purpose to either give some color, give some life to the background, or to catch your eye with something. And so all the LEDs in the back are made by Govee. The ones around my monitor are the Govee Smart LED light bars, and the one on my bed is the Govee Portable LED table light. This video is not sponsored by Govee, but they make really good RGB smart lights and literally half the price of the Philips Hue counterparts. They have a very intuitive app and a lot of customization, and have been great for me so far. So one quick tip about practicals that I've recently been incorporating myself is that you don't want to overexpose them in the background. If anything, you want to underexpose them compared to your subject, which is probably you. Having them underexposed, you can adjust them in the editing process, and you don't have to worry about these super blown out areas in the back of your frame. And as Parker Walbeck says, it just looks amateur, so try to mind that. And yes, this also counts for the monitor. My monitor is currently at like 5% brightness, and it still looks super bright. It's just because I'm filming at 2.8, lets in a lot of light, and for it to not be blown out during video editing, it's literally on 5%. It's crazy. So just keep that in mind with practicals. So the last thing that I'll consider part of my filming studio, at least for my A roll, and that is this Datacolor Spyder Checker 24 color card. So right before I actually start talking in every video, I will sit here cheesing like a potato, holding up this card towards the camera, and this will allow me to go back during editing, and it allows me to get perfect colors and correct white balance in case something was off in my camera settings. And just a side tangent, can someone please explain to me why all these types of color correcting cards are so expensive on Amazon? This was the cheapest one I could find, and it was $50. $50 for this. There are some smaller ones, like Passport ones. I get like they're smaller and compact. Those go for like $100, $120. It's just a piece of paper with color on it. It's an absolute scam, but unnecessary evil, as this really helps me get perfect colors in all my videos. So that is my current YouTube studio in my college dorm. I know it's probably far from perfect and nobody's dream setup, but this is a year and a half of saving up a bunch of money and investing it all back into my channel any chance I get, and I think I've come a long way since my first setup. So just like always, everything I mentioned in this video will be linked down below in the description in case you want to pick anything up for your own setup. You can easily find it. And also, don't forget to follow me on my Instagram at Nate_Lem, as I plan on posting there more frequently, making some more, I don't know, behind the scenes footage over there, and you can also kind of just see more of me than just YouTube videos. So that's gonna be the video. If you enjoyed it, then please don't forget to hit the like button down below and subscribe. And as always, have a great day everyone, and cheers.